Hello everyone, I'm Ace of Clubs Kid, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Apple iPad mini and the smart cover. I'm going to be talking about the smart cover a little bit. I'm actually going to talk about that first. And just a preface, in case you didn't see my original video on this where I just brought up that I got this was actually a gift from a friend. The screen on here is cracked, and that is because of my friend who gave it to me actually did that. But yeah, so I'm just going to clean this up just to get that out of the way. Anyways, first thing I'm going to be talking about here in this video is the smart cover. This is Apple's solution to a just a case, or I keep saying case, it's just a cover, and basically it has two purposes. One is to keep your iPad just lightly protected from really from just scratches. And the second is to serve as a stand, which also wakes and sleep, and which also wakes up your iPad and puts it to sleep when you put it over it. So that's that. It goes into this position, and it also flips around this way too for typing. Let's see if I can. There we go. So that's the two positions that it does, and that's that. So I have to say that if you're thinking about getting this with the iPad mini, I would not recommend it. Couple reasons why. First of all is, I don't even know why I took it out of that mode, but first of all is, especially for the iPad mini, I'm not sure how this is for the full-size iPad, so I can't vouch, but for this, when you're trying to type, see if I can bring down that, I'm still not completely used to iOS 7, there we go, okay. So when you're trying to type here, you'll notice from just pressing buttons, the iPad itself starts to wobble, and that makes you miss key presses, and it can get really annoying, especially if you have to type a lot. So not the best solution here. There's just an uncomfortable amount of wobble that you get to it. It doesn't feel very sturdy, and it also kind of like, it just doesn't feel right. I don't think there's the right amount of weight here. There's not the this just doesn't really work so well when it was taken down in size. You know, it may have worked really well for the iPad, but for the iPad mini, it just doesn't really translate so well. For typing mode, it does a fairly solid job. Nothing really wrong with that. But I just wouldn't entirely recommend this. I think this is a $40 cover, which is really, really expensive. The other thing about it, aside from when it's in that, is it's also very annoying to hold this with the cover back, because this is a microfiber material, which is really nice for the screen. It makes sure you don't get any scratches on it. It's nice and soft. It's the same material that's in like a glasses cleaner, which is a double-edged sword, because when you flip it around, you're holding it. You are holding basically this material, trying to like hold a tablet by this, and if you happen to already have a tablet and you have like this cloth, just try to hold it with that. It's very slippery. I feel like I'm going to drop the tablet more because of this case, or cover. I'm just going to, anyways, so I'm just going to stop talking about this now, but just my short spiel on that before I get into the whole iPad. Now, that aside, let's talk about the design of the iPad. I'm not really going to be talking about the operating system or any of that. I'm going to be talking about really the design and the performance of this device. So I'm going to wipe this down again because it's got like a ton of fingerprints on it. Anyways, first of all, I have to say that design-wise, I think this is totally a win for Apple. I think this device looks really, really awesome. It looks so good. I'm going to take my camera off the tripod here for a second. And there we go. And you'll kind of get to see it a bit closer up. And I'm not really going to explain what everything I'm going over is. It should be fairly obvious, but just so you can get an idea of the finish that's covering it. And put the light in some different angles. I really like it. It's, of course, this matte or non-reflective finish, and it has the glossy finish over the Apple logo and the part that says iPad right there, which is the same finish. This is anodized aluminum. which is the same thing that's on the iPhone 5 and 5S. So it looks really nice. The unfortunate drawback of this, however, there's actually a couple of unfortunate drawbacks. It looks amazing, but the problem is that, first of all, it scratches really easily. There's already some scratches on here. My friend who owned this didn't really use it very much. That's why he gave it to me, and he took good care of it while he wasn't using it. Obviously, except for sitting on it, which is how he cracked the screen. Anyways, point is, he would keep the cover on and everything, so there's no real reason that it should have gotten all scratched up like this. So goes to show you, you're going to want to get a case for this. Another thing that's a problem with this, I'm not sure how bad this is with the other iPads, because this is the only one I've owned, and the only ones I've played with have had cases on them. But anyways, it's not very grippy, this material. It's pretty slippery, actually. Even if your hands are like kind of moist or anything, it's going to probably make it worse if they're dry. So it's not a very, very grip-friendly material. So you're going to want to get a case for this, I think, which is really, really sad because I really, really like how this looks. It looks so good, and I wish they could have just put some more time, just another maybe finish of something that's non-reflective that kind of keeps this look, but makes it grippier and more resistant to scratching. Anyways, that aside, the front obviously looks a lot less pretty on this due to all the scratches. I'll leave that on here. Okay, now I think that the design of the iPad mini, in terms of the screen and everything and the bezel, is where it gets a bit confused. And I'll explain this with a couple of different things. First of all, I'm going to grab my smart cover here so I can actually talk and kind of use both hands and everything. See, it's useful for this. Oh yeah, note again on the smart cover. I would really recommend the smart cover if you are one of those Starbucks people that goes to Starbucks with their iPad and wants to kind of sit there and drink coffee and, you know, check your email, watch a movie or whatever you do, whatever you might want to do. And I'm completely serious with this. It is really good if you're sitting at a table. That's really the kind of stuff that I would use it for. If you're sitting at a table watching something, or sitting at a table typing, is really the main things that I would say it's good for. Protection-wise, it's awful. It doesn't protect your device too well if you want it at any other angles than the two that it gives you, which are pretty specific. I would look elsewhere. So yeah. That aside, what was I just saying? I was going to say, okay, first thing I'm going to show you. An issue with the iPad mini is the screen size, the orientation of it, not the orientation, just the aspect ratio is off. So that if you want to watch videos, I'm going to show you here a undercover boss video. And this doesn't matter. This is just a widescreen format, which is what most television shows will be in, and really most movies. So most of anything you're going to watch, even things on YouTube, are going to be in a widescreen format. I'm going to turn the volume down here. And so, let's see. Look at this play. And you see you get those dreaded black bars here, these are pretty significant black bars. As you can see, why is this taking so long to load? Okay. Whatever. If it doesn't load, I'll just leave it. Okay, there we go, now we're good. Okay, so here you can see we have those thick black bars here. They're a pretty good chunk of the screen when you take into account both of them together. You only get about a 7-inch tablet, like a typical 7-inch tablet screen anyways when you're watching videos like this. Now, you do have the option to double tap and go in closer so it fills the entire screen, but you'll see you lose the details on the side, which I don't really like, and I don't really like that you have to choose. I would have really preferred if they just made this an 8-inch tablet with a 16:9 aspect ratio so that you could just watch it, you know, without having to compromise. It's just a full screen format. My speculation for this is just how Apple likes to format their devices. This is how the regular iPad is too. Actually, have the same issue. But it is annoying. I think they really could have stepped it up, especially since they went for a complete redesign of the tablet. This really popular tablet. They really could have taken advantage of it. Anyways, that aside, I also have some other issues with the design of this tablet, with the bezel. This is another thing where they went wrong, I think. I think in a couple of ways, this tablet is kind of lagging behind, compared to Apple. And I'm not hating on Apple by saying this. I really want to like this tablet, and I do like it a lot. I just am completely willing to point out its flaws for the sake of other people who are looking at it. So I'm going to go ahead here into whatever I'm going to do. I'll go on Amazon. Just because it's an app that I don't really have to pay attention to while I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay, so kind of the issue here with the tablet is it's favored, the way that it's designed, it's favored to be held upright or in portrait mode. This isn't very comfortable to do though, especially if you don't have tiny hands like me. I have fairly large hands. They go about from the bottom of the, I'll just show you as a comparison, they go from about the bottom of the screen here to the camera on the top. Hopefully you can see that. That's about how big my hands are. And when I'm holding this tablet, I'm trying to think if I can show you this, but I'll take the camera off again. I'll show you behind. Hopefully that works. Okay. All right. So now when I'm holding the tablet, you can see this. See how well you can hear me. Okay. So you can see when I'm holding the tablet, my hands have to kind of cross over each other to fit, because the tablet's not big enough, and it's kind of this awkward sort of rectangle where I can't really hold it too comfortably. Now, I think the most comfortable way to hold this is something like this, where you have the edges kind of going into your, where the shadow is going on my hand, right around there, and then kind of hold it like this, so then your hands don't cross over each other. That was probably a bit too high for you to see. Then your hands don't have to cross over each other or anything. Hold on just a second, I'm going to adjust my tripod just a little bit here. Okay, maybe a little bit more than a little bit. Okay, maybe a lot of it. Really sorry. Okay, never mind, I'm just gonna leave it how it was. Alright, so pretty much this is the most comfortable way to hold the tablet. Now, it's kind of an issue for typing now. I'll bring up the keyboard. It's kind of an issue when my thumbs are up here and the keyboard is down here. It means I have to just completely readjust my hands into another comfortable position. Actually, really, it's only comfortable for the typing itself. In terms of how I'm actually holding the tablet, it's very uncomfortable, it's very unstable, and I don't like it. It's better to type in this orientation, I think, than it is to type in the landscape way, because that way you really have to stretch to get to the T and Y and G, H, B, V, N, all those keys you have to really stretch to. It does have the nice option of letting you split the keyboard, but then you do get smaller buttons, and it is a little bit of an odd feeling, especially if you're used to touchscreen typing with your thumbs. So that's that. Another issue is it's kind of awkward to find a nice way to hold this tablet. I like aesthetically how it is, having these thin edges here, but it's not very practical, because if you want to hold the tablet in portrait mode once again, which is, like I said, how it's kind of favored to be held, you have to either really just push your thumb all the way straight like this. I know that's really not comfortable, or you can kind of have your thumb resting on the screen here, which is annoying, especially if you're in a darker setting and then you just kind of see the silhouette of your thumb covering the screen. It's just, I don't really see much of much of a need for that. They could have had just the thicker bezel. And what's really annoying about this is that the new iPad, the iPad, I think it's going to be 5. It's called the iPad Air, is actually going to be adopting this same design. It's going to have this thinner bezel. And I don't really understand why Apple's so interested in this. It looks nicer, I'll give them that, but it's just less practical. So that's my thoughts on that. What I also find really interesting about this tablet is that I'm going to go back to the smart cover. What I also find very interesting about this tablet is it seems half-heartedly a landscape tablet. In other words, it's meant to be kind of used primarily in the landscape setting like this. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. It's literally half oriented where that makes complete sense, and the other half is kind of like, never mind. Now, on the left hand here, this is really nice the way this is set up, by the way. I like this regardless. You have the power button here, the, sleep wake power button, all of that good stuff right on the side, as well as the orientation lock or the mute button, and your volume keys up here, and you have your headphone jack on the side. Now, all of those pretty much make sense to have in a landscape tablet. You don't have anything that's like difficult to access. Your one finger can control everything here very easily. You don't really have to switch out of this position. But then again, on this side, we have our home button, which can get annoying because, and on the existing landscape tablets anyways, this would be moved to the bottom here so that it doesn't get in the way of your hand here. The speakers, the stereo speakers that they put on here, I'll get back to this in a second, or in a minute. The stereo speakers would be completely covered by your hand here because of the small size of the iPad, and it just doesn't really seem to make much sense, as well as also the camera over here would also be covered by your hand if you want to make Skype calls or anything like that. Take selfies, something like that. God knows why you'd want to on an iPad. But anyways, point is, I think that the design of this tablet is a bit confused in that respect. And because of that, sometimes I feel like I want to use it for some things, and it's just kind of, it doesn't really do some things particularly well, and it just kind of lags behind in some ways. Not performance-wise so much, but in terms of how I want to hold it sometimes or type on it and things like that. It can get a bit annoying. Alright, so with that aside, let's get into the performance of this tablet. I would say that this tablet is pretty well performing. It's not as fast as it could be. Don't get this, and if you already have like a iPad 3 or anything, don't expect to get this and expect it to be better. It only has half a gigabyte of RAM, and I'm not sure which CPU it has off the top of my head, but I've heard it compared. It's pretty comparable to the iPad 2 in speed. Just to briefly get into what the half gigabyte of RAM means, most tablets have about 2 gigabytes of RAM. It don't really explain too much what that is because it doesn't even so much matter unless you're really a techie and you want to get into that a lot. But to give you an idea, most tablets have about 2 gigabytes of RAM, and RAM allows you to do more things kind of in the background. It allows your tablet to be overall faster. If you had 2 gigabytes of RAM on this tablet, for example, I could just have a bunch of things running here. I could probably be able to multitask and have the power to multitask, like on some Android tablets where you're able to do more than one thing at once, which is a really nice feature. But this one doesn't quite have the power to do that. But it doesn't seem to really lag behind too much for most everyday use, but there are some games like really Dead Trigger, The Walking Dead, and Injustice, where you do get some frame skips where it's just like the screen freezes for a second and then it kind of continues going forward. So you can definitely see its limitations, but it's not too bad if you're not really going to be playing intensive games like that. So that's pretty much that. Now, overall as a tablet, would I recommend buying this? Would I recommend this as a tablet? What do I think of it overall? I think this is a really, really nice addition to the iPad family. I think this first version was a bit of a hit and miss. The new design I really like. It's very portable, very easy to carry. It's super thin, and it is just it's a nice device. It feels at times very nice to use, at other times very confused. But I'd say as a general whole, if you like Apple products, or you like smaller tablets, you maybe are interested in getting a tablet, maybe you don't want to get an Android, you don't like Android, this is probably the tablet for you. There are better deals out there, I will just say. There's a lot better deals. This is a $325 tablet base model. With the release of the new iPad mini, this will go down to $300, which is more reasonable. But there are still better deals out there for that price, and I would recommend looking into all of them and then finding out which ones you need the most. Oh yes, I was also going to talk about the speakers here on the bottom. The speakers on the bottom here, they are fairly loud, but you have this really, this is such a strange thing to me that Apple did this, because stereo speakers means that you have one that goes left, one that goes right. And, you know, of course, the advantage of this is when you're watching a movie or something, if something happens to the left or the right, you can hear that. You can hear the direction of it. You get more of a full kind of surround sound. You know, you don't feel like it's just kind of popping out of one side. But the irony is that it's just coming out of one side, so it's fairly pointless that you have this anyways. And I've been watching TV shows and stuff where, like, if something happens on the right side, it really just ends up sounding like it's coming from the top, and then if it's from the left side, it sounds like it's coming from the bottom. So I don't really know what was up with that too. There was plenty of room up here, except for with the 3G model, which this is the 3G model, but it's still, they could have redesigned that a little bit. They could have had speakers just on either side here, which I would have been completely happy with. Especially, like, even Samsung innovated a bit by putting the speakers here because they had a tablet that was meant to be used in landscape mode, so it made a lot of sense to do that. It didn't get easily covered by your hands, and it made a lot of sense. I don't see why Apple couldn't have innovated, as they so well normally do, and done something like that. Anyways, that is my thoughts on this tablet. I would say overall, like I said, if you like Apple products, you want something smaller than the iPad, then you should give this a look. If you want something that's a good value for an absolute first tablet and you're not opposed to trying Android, I would look in that direction first. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'm Asa Clubs Kid, and I will see you guys soon.